This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome. Here on behalf of the NFC East Super Friends, chopping it up with you quickly to wrap up the preseason, turn our attention to the regular season. NFL cuts are happening right now as we speak, chopping these rosters down to 53. By day's end, every team would have chopped their roster down to 53. Does not mean that that's the final roster. You know, moves can still be made, waiver wire claims can be made, trades can be made, things of that nature. But for all intents and purposes, kind of feels like the four teams in this division's rosters are pretty much set. Washington may have a few tweaks here and there, but for the most part, feels like everybody's done most of their damage. Now, with that said, I'm going to put a quick bow on week 3 of the preseason, but I want to give you a quick update. NFC East Super Friends will be live and in color tomorrow, Wednesday, August the 28th, live at 8 p.m. We'll have a guest filling in for the Dallas Cowboys, and we will be previewing the upcoming season, giving our predictions for what we think is going to happen with each team, giving our records, so forth and so forth. You know, it's usually a big show. Looking forward to doing that. So make sure you mark your calendars tomorrow, August the 28th, 8 p.m. live here on the NFC East Super Channel, or Super Friends channel. We will be chopping it up and having a blast talking about the best division in football. With that said, preseason week number 3 went as expected. None of the teams in the division played their starters. There was a little bit of discussion in terms of the Giants and whether they were going to play their starters. Very disappointed was head coach Brian Daboll in the performance of Daniel Jones and the first team offense. They did finish on a high note, as I mentioned last episode, with him hitting the deep ball to Darius Slayton, and then ultimately having the touchdown run from 1 yard out by Devin Singletary. So they did finish on a high note. So there is that. But very disappointing to say the least. But he did not, and I thought that was the right thing to do, not to play your starters. I think it's just too risky. I myself would play my starters in the weeks 1 and 2 of the preseason, and then I'm resting everybody, because if an injury occurs in weeks 1 or 2, there's still enough time for that guy to get back. Say you get a hamstring or an ankle, you got enough time to heal and be ready for week 1. If you do that same injury in week 3 of the preseason, the likelihood is you're either going to be pushing it to try to get back for week 1, or you're just not going to be able to play at all. So I thought it was the right thing to do. Giants didn't play anybody, and so they played the Jets. Nothing there to see. Same can be said for the Commanders. They played no one in their preseason finale against the New England Patriots, so it's nothing there to see. Same can be said for the Philadelphia Eagles. They played no one of note there. So there was nothing to see against the Minnesota Vikings. And then the Dallas Cowboys played no one of note except for Trey Lance. Now, I do want to say this about the Eagles. I think it would be wise on the Eagles' part to go scouring through the waiver wire and see if there's a veteran backup quarterback that you can find to upgrade that group. You can't be comfortable with Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee. You can't be. Now, look, that's just my personal opinion. You may be fine with those two and picking one of the two. I don't know, but it just seems like that situation is unresolved. You don't really have a guy behind Jalen Hurts that you feel competent enough to put in the game for a 2 to 4 week stretch if Hurts is to have something go wrong. I think you need to go find someone. And there will be some guys that are veterans that have played football in this league that can get you through a 2-week stretch that's better and more competent than the 2 guys that you currently have backing him up at this current juncture. But that's none of my business. If they want to go into the season rolling the dice and hoping that things come up nice and that Jalen Hurts stays healthy, by all means, knock yourself out. But He's been banged up each of the last 2 seasons as Jalen Hurts. Missed a couple of games in 2022. Had to come back prematurely to wrap up the division because couldn't get it done without him. And then last year, he played the back end of the season banged up. And he might not admit it, but he was hurt. He was hurting. I don't know if you have a guy right now that can get you through a week or two without Jalen Hurts, but we'll see. But back to the Cowboys in Trey Lance. Trey Lance ultimately ended up ending the preseason with the most passing yards of anyone in the preseason, but that's because he played the most snaps and attempted the most passes of any quarterback in the preseason because the Cowboys pretty much turned him loose and said, let's see what you got, fella. And it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Trey Lance, the athlete, is exceptional. Trey Lance, the quarterback, not so much. I think he might be one of those guys, and he doesn't want to hear this, that may just need to think about changing positions because he's athletically gifted. Now, does he lose an edge when he's now accounted for and is asked to catch the football or is handed the ball and people are chasing him versus being the quarterback, people expecting you to throw, and then you turn into a runner and your athleticism takes over and it's too late for the defense to respond? He had a touchdown run against the Chargers that was pretty impressive, but we know he can do that. Problem is, he threw 5 interceptions. Yes, 5 interceptions in one game. Wow, that's really bad. Preseason game against guys that might not even be in the league here in a few hours, not to mention. Anyway, the Cowboys, I think, wanted to see if this guy was worth picking up the 5th-year option and all of that good stuff. It's not. He can't replace Dak Prescott. I think that puts a little bit more pressure on Dallas to, I mean, not that they were ever going to think about replacing Dak with Trey Lance, but they wanted to see if there was a chance. There's no chance. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from the Cowboys, preseason as a whole. They didn't play any of their starters. And so I think the Trey Lance conversation can be put to rest at this point. That's the way I feel. But anyway, let's get a quick word from one of our sponsors, and then we'll come back and we'll put a bow on this show.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
So, as I mentioned, preseason, week 3, done. Preseason as a whole, now in the rearview mirror. Season gets underway September the 4th. Let's see. The Sunday is the 8th. Saturday is the 7th. Friday is the 6th. 5th. September the 5th, where we get the Ravens and the Chiefs. AFC Championship rematch. We get the Eagles. We get some NFC East flavor on Friday. First time we've had a Friday kickoff week opener. So Packers won a playoff game, beat the Dallas Cowboys last year. Jordan Love feeling himself, fresh new contract. Eagles, Packers in Brazil. That should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And then we get to the rest of the slate for week 1. Cowboys have the Browns, Commanders have the Bucks, and the Giants. Who do the Giants play? I don't know. That's a good question. My guess is they probably play somebody that they can handle. I hope they play somebody that'll beat their ass, to be honest with you. But let's see. Who do the Giants play in week 1? The Giants are playing the Vikings. Yeah, that's somebody that they should be able to handle with Sam Darnold at quarterback. They should be able to win that game at home, but I don't know. A lot of people think the Giants might be one of the worst teams of football, so we'll see. But anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie Tee, here on this installment of Around the NFC East, here on behalf of the NFC East Super Friends. Keep in mind, mark your calendars, tomorrow night, August 28th, 8 p.m., NFC East Super Friends are live and in color, back on your screen and talking about the greatest division in the National Football League. Hopefully you can join us. Should be a lot of fun. Can't wait. Bart Scott. Can't wait. Until then, you guys have a good one. Take care. And I want to give a quick shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video. You want to sign up for BetUS? Link is in the description of this video. Until next time, take care.